Pro Wrestling Weekly presents Today in Wrestling History, February 2. On this date in 2004, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from State College, Pennsylvania. In the main event, Shawn Michaels pinned Randy Orton. On this date in 1998, WCW Monday Nitro aired live from San Antonio, Texas. In the main event, Randy Savage defeated Sting by disqualification. On this date in 2009, WWE Monday Night Raw aired live from St. Louis, Missouri. In the main event, John Cena defeated Chris Jericho by submission. This has been Today in Wrestling History, February 2.
This is Jim the Anvil Neidhart of the Hart Foundation, and you're listening to Pro Wrestling Weekly with Fearon Derry on 1490 WBCB, baby. Yeah!
Welcome back to Pro Wrestling Weekly here on 1490 WBCB and online at WBCB1490.com. Fearon Derry here with you, along with Theo the Extern and, of course, Starship Matt. He's answering the phones like he usually does, pushing the dials, turning the knobs, keeping us on the air, taking me off the air if I say something excessively stupid. No, he hasn't done that yet, and he better not, or we'll get somebody else to produce this. All right, I got
That's where the lovely dump button comes in handy.
Exactly, yes. Yeah, but that's I know better. I've been doing this long enough now. Actually, gosh, this show, I mean, next month will actually have been 4 years that I've been at the helm, and actually this month in February, I forget the exact day, I'll have to check with Loose Cannon Eric Gargiulo, but it was 14 years ago this month that this show made its debut here on WBCB. It's the longest-running professional wrestling talk show on terrestrial radio in the country.
So will that be in next week's This Day in Pro Wrestling? You're going to add that into the mix?
Well, we'll see if it falls on a Saturday. Yeah, I mean, that is rather historic. But I'll get the exact date from Eric. I'll have to check in my notes. But, yeah, I mean, we're closing in on 14 years on the air, and I've been here for just about 4 of them.
So this started right in the Attitude Era then?
Yes, it did.
Right in the thick of the Attitude Era.
Yeah, the first show was over over at Slack's Hoagie Shack back in the day. Yeah,
man.
You remember those remotes? I think it was Eric Gargiulo and Rob Feinstein back in the day, or Feinstein. I don't know.
Okay.
All right. The guy who does RF video.
Well, you know what? I wish we could get the tape from the first episode just to see what they were talking about. I'm sure Rock and Stone Cold was the main event to whatever event was in the way.
Well, you figure, February 99, that was leading right into WrestleMania 15, which was here in Philly, and Austin and The Rock was the main event.
There you go.
So you're right in that time frame, but I'll have to see. I know Eric has archives out the wazoo, and we'll see. Maybe I know he's got a lot going on now. He's been around a little while. I know he's got a family now. He's got the wife, the kid, but I'll see if maybe he can give up a Saturday, kind of come on back here.
Everyone loves a reunion.
Exactly, a little comeback. just kind of a hey, how you doing to everybody, something like that. We'll see. Let's take a look at some news, notes, and other things here. Plenty of that to talk about as well. It was announced this past Monday. How about some stratisfaction about being a Hall of Famer? Trish Stratus introduced on Raw as the 3rd member of this year's WWE Hall of Fame class, joining Mick Foley and Bob Backlund. Pretty strong so far.
I kind of feel like what does not belong. You like Trish Stratus going in the Hall of Fame so soon?
So soon? Well, I don't know. I'm torn. I mean, I'm glad that they're not leaving the women totally out.
I agree.
And when you look at women what the only really other, what are you going to induct Miss Elizabeth?
Miss Elizabeth, Sensational Sherry.
Okay, well, that's the problem. They're all posthumous entries. I mean, maybe they usually only like to do one posthumous entry a year.
Okay.
So do they want to use that on a female, I guess? I mean, I don't know. Or do they want to go into, I guess because, they usually like to have that individual speak for themselves as opposed to a family member speaking for them. And usually if they do, they'll just do one per year. Like they had the Hennig family up there when Kurt Hennig, Mr. Perfect, got inducted.
I was talking to Mike Samsel from here at WBCB earlier in the week, and he was telling me about Trish Stratus, because I hadn't found out that she was getting inducted. I must have missed it at some point. And he was telling me that he agreed with it, much like you did. And he brought up the best point that you can possibly bring up to me, which is why I ultimately had to relent, was because he pretty much said, since we've had women's wrestling and an actual championship for women's wrestling in the WWE, who's been better than Trish Stratus? And I had no choice but to kind of agree with him.
Yeah, I mean, there are notable names, and I'm sure if you ask anybody, in our age range, who's your favorite diva from the Attitude Era, I mean, you'll get all kinds of names thrown out. You'll get Sable, you'll get Trish Stratus, Stacy Keibler. We'll get a lot of
Keibler. Oh God, yes.
Oh wow.
I like Keibler.
You're turning into you're turning into like a second generation sexual chocolate over here. Stop it.
Well,
like Mark Henry, and yeah, don't respond. Just don't. I'm just throwing that out there, leaving it sit, and that's probably that's more than likely a good thing. All right, other news and notes here. The Undertaker. Yes, he might be out of WrestleMania 29. His status is still in question, according to reports by the Wrestling Observer newsletter as well as PWInsider.com. He's said to be non-committal at this point due to ongoing injury issues. The Undertaker, he's been working through a severely injured shoulder in recent years, and sources have stated in the past that his shoulder is at the point where there's nothing more surgeons can do.
Wow.
So, I mean, his shoulder is not good. So does he have one more in him? And he is he is a prideful guy. So if he can't be at like the top level or close to it, he doesn't want to showcase himself out there. He doesn't want to go out there looking like he's past his prime. He still wants to let everybody know I can go, and if I can't go, then I don't want to be out there.
I mean, what does he really have to gain, though, from coming into this WrestleMania? Unless he's in some kind of a financial strait, I can't imagine.
Which I doubt. I mean,
I doubt that as well, and I just can't imagine what he would have to gain if his shoulder is to the point where literally surgeons are telling him, look, it is what it is.
Yeah, we've done all we can.
At this point of his career, he has nothing left to prove. He's undefeated at WrestleMania. I just don't see any reason for him to participate.
If there were actual voters, he is without question a first ballot.
Yes.
Although I can't stand that term, but he is a first ballot Hall of without a doubt, slam dunk, no question Hall of Famer somewhere down the road.
Yes.
Possibly. I don't know, when WWE maybe goes back to his home state of Texas or somewhere close to Death Valley, if you want to go where he's originally hailing from. But, we all know he's from Houston, Texas.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe next year, since it looks like it's about to be officially announced, the location of WrestleMania 30. I know, we're looking to WrestleMania 29 coming up in a couple of months, but they're already looking at spots for WrestleMania 30, and it looks like the lead candidate, the leader in the clubhouse, the Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana, Nolans.
Nice, got to follow the Super Bowl.
It looks that way, and I mean, a lot of people thought, all right, well, it's 30, they're going to do the predictable thing, go back to Madison Square Garden. No. Not with the last 5+ years of going to different venues, either indoor or outdoor, that can seat 50, 60, 70, 80,000 people. They want to keep that going. Mm-hmm. It's like, all right, do you want to go to Madison Square Garden where you can sell 20,000 tickets, or do you want to go to the Superdome where you can sell 70,000 plus?
Well, I don't want to disrespect anybody, but who logically thought that they were going to go to Madison Square Garden after being at Giant Stadium this year? I mean, you can't do New York 2 times in a row, can you?
Well, I mean, you look back in the past, they did New Jersey twice in a row, same building for WrestleMania's 4 and 5.
Well, that's 4 and 5.
Yeah, true. This was still early in the game. I get that. And that was a significant downgrade from in 88 going back to 87, where you had 93,000 plus in the Pontiac Silverdome, and then you go to what, about 15,000 in the Trump Plaza there.
Yeah.
So I mean, that was a huge step backwards. Plus that crowd. Oh man, that crowd just.
Which crowd?
The crowd in Atlantic City, in Jersey.
Okay, yeah.
It was, woof.
Yeah, I agree.
And yet they went back there a second year. For another, 4.5 hour marathon, it felt like.
Well, the funny thing is, and you were just talking about, we were just talking about the Super Bowl earlier. I don't know if it's like a cat and mouse game between the WWE and the NFL, but yeah, the Super Bowl this year is going to be in New Orleans at the Superdome, and WrestleMania is at Giant Stadium, and now they're going to switch places next year. WrestleMania is going to be possibly in the Super Bowl or Superdome, and the Super Bowl is going to be in New Jersey.
In Jersey, yeah. It's they're
related, right? Pro wrestling, football. I think they're related.
There's a lot of crossover with that, and no better way to note that than two Super Bowl noteworthy stories over the course of this week. First of all, one of the Super Bowl coaches has a wrestling connection.
Really?
And this comes from Jim Ross's, JR's blog, of course. He said, thought a cool story for NFL journalists would be to ask Ravens coach John Harbaugh how it was to room with the late Brian Pillman while both were playing football at the Miami of Ohio.
Wow. Seriously, can someone please ask him that? Because I want to know how crazy Pillman was in real life.
According to Jim, Ross said, or follows on, he says, I've been told that Brian was a legend in his own time while at college and was just as much a free spirit and a character, in quotes, then as he was when he got into the wrestling biz.
Oh, wow. So then that means John has some stories, too.
Oh, I could only imagine. That would be a heck of an interview. Just like I always wanted to interview Brian Billick about, going on to Match Game 75 back in the day before he was a big NFL coach. Because I'm a game show dork, I'll admit that. I'd be intrigued. Yeah, exactly. Are you kidding? I marked out like crazy when Bob Barker was the guest host of Raw a couple of years ago.
I don't know.
You don't remember that?
No, I'm sorry.
All right. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about that after the show's over. And then the other story here: the champ has milk. That's right. The Rock tweeted the extended version of the Got Milk ad that he is going to air. That will air tomorrow night during the Super Bowl. The video features The Rock bypassing several heroic moments so that he can get his daughter and her friends milk for their cereal.
Oh, The Rock. Has he jumped the shark now? Has he jumped the shark now? With 3 movies coming out in 2013, his lines aren't really hitting the way the fans used to love. Has he jumped the shark now? A milk commercial?
For the Super Bowl, though. Can't get a much larger audience than the Super Bowl.
I'm not mad at him. Oh, trust me, I'm a big Rocky guy. I'm not mad at him, but he still could have jumped the shark. I mean, the Super Bowl. You're in the Super Bowl ad for milk. You're in the Super Bowl. I'm just,
Well, I mean, he's still looking. He's still looking. He's still looking like he's in his prime. I mean, I don't want to. I'm sure you can look it up online. I don't want to necessarily give away the commercial, but I mean, The Rock already has. So yeah, check his Twitter. Check out the commercial. It's about a minute long, and I mean, everything from lions to aliens to a cat in a tree. Yeah, the rest you can find out on your own. I'll just leave it at that. And also a couple of quick Hogan stories. Hulk tweeting a picture of his daughter's legs.
It's a family show, so I'm going to leave it alone.
Starship Matt's cracking up at that. Hulk Hogan made Huffington Post headlines for tweeting a photo of his daughter that read, quote, Brooke's legs. It was a shot of Brooke sitting in a skirt backstage at the Impact Zone. The Huffington Post noting the awkwardness and comparing it to Joe Simpson making remarks about daughter Jessica Simpson's breasts.
I just think it's a very strange relationship in the Boulder family.
Yeah, well, even ex-wife Linda chimed in on this. She actually came to Hulk's defense.
Really?
On Twitter with a post directed to TMZ and the Huffington Post, quote, "Stop, you people need to relax. We both think Brooke and her legs are gorgeous. We are parents. Spare me."
I have a very beautiful little sister, and I just can't imagine tweeting any body part of
well,
her.
I don't even think this is as bad as, remember those pictures from a couple of years ago of him applying suntan lotion?
Yes.
Rather
gingerly?
Rather close to places that parents shouldn't necessarily apply to their late teen, early 20-something kids. That's, I think, the best way to get around that on the air here. Yeah, applying in places that definitely shouldn't.
They have a special relationship. Let's just say
definitely. But meanwhile, the Hulk, apparently he was twisted like The Exorcist. More details of Hogan's $50 million lawsuit against the Laser Spine Institute. Hogan telling Bang Showbiz that they left him, quote, twisted like The Exorcist. He said, Laser Spine said I didn't need a fusion, so they cut on my back one time, and I felt pretty good after a couple weeks. I called Vince McMahon and said, man, I'm good to go. Let's do this deal, referring to a possible match against John Cena at WrestleMania 25. And then they started planning, and suddenly he was like, my back. That put the deal on hold. Then they cut on me 6 more times and kept cutting more bone away until I had to have a spinal cord stimulator put in my back.
Ooh.
The stimulator has wires that go up your back and stops the pain. They put that in my back because my body was twisting like The Exorcist. I couldn't pull my head around front. My body was all contorted.
That just makes me feel uncomfortable to listen to how he described them cutting bone away from his spine.
So, yeah, if he has proof of that stuff happening, he's got that $50 million in the bank. Pretty easy.
Oh, yeah. Well, he's already a rich man anyway, so I'm sorry. I'm not crying too many tears for his bank account.
Yeah, definitely. Although a lot of it's going to Linda, but, divorce proceedings and whatnot. All right, that's going to do it for us. We'll get into the other stories, Tammy Sitch and Hasselhoff and Bischoff. We'll get into those next week. It's a little save for next week. Thanks again, Theo the Extern coming in. Starship Matt pushing the dials. Stick around, Starship Matt, also known as Matt Sarshik. He'll be bringing you country music. 5 hours of it.
Throw a little R&B there. We'll make some.
He looks absolutely thrilled. All right, this is Pro Wrestling Weekly. We'll be back next week here on BCB.
1490 WBCB, Levittown, Fairless Hills, Trenton.